Okay. Thanks for having me come, guys. This is going to be probably some new information for you folks. Essentially, these guys asked me to come along because of our interest to try and help out Michigan DNR with a project that they're in the early stages of and are starting to see fish return from. As you're probably aware, Michigan DNR has a stocking program for steelhead, similar to what's conducted on our side of the lake. They've seen through time some big changes in kind of the outcome of their program, largely return to creel. So the black line here is catch that they observe in a long-term creel program that they run at 10 ports on their side of the lake. So the time series they've got starts in the mid-90s, and up down through the period when we saw alewives collapse, they saw catch rates or overall catches for steelhead decline pretty precipitously. And the program in Michigan's state-run. The fish come out of state-run facilities, and folks may have heard how cash-strapped the state is. So they run the stocking program on their side of the lake. They're pretty concerned about the cost of the program and the return they get from it, and what the changes in returns are doing for the sake of their fishery. So they've seen these declines occur, but interestingly enough, in recent years they've seen, even though I don't have a lot of the creel data from their program, but when alewives collapsed, they saw a 75% reduction in total effort in their recreational fishery on their side of the lake. So even though there's only a quarter of the effort that was devoted in the fishery prior to the alewife Chinook collapse, they've seen this big spike in catches and catch rates. Actually, the highest catch rates they've ever seen since they started their creel program for this particular species. So the big question is, what's going on? Why is that happening? They, through their yearly analysis of samples, they use a method and look at growth patterns on scales from steelhead. I'd have to be honest and say I'm not totally convinced the method is terribly robust, but it's the best they've got, given on their side of the lake, up until recently, they weren't marking steelhead. They did mark the 2000 through 2003 year classes, and they haven't marked fish up until recently. So that means you have to have some method. How robust is it? I'm not really clear, but they use a method where they look at growth patterns and try and tease out what's wild, what's hatchery. And that method really only does work if you're rearing and stocking yearlings. It doesn't work for younger life stages, unfortunately. But to answer that question, what's going on, it appears from their creel program that numbers of wild fish are ramping up in their catches on their side of the lake. So, bring us forward to what they're up to, and I guess I'm kind of a talking head for Michigan, as strange as that sounds. They've seen declines in harvest and in catches. They're increasing. It appears that wild fish are potentially they're leading to those increases. So their big question is, how effective is our hatchery program? A big part of the study, and I've got a few copies of their study design, a big part of their program is something similar that they did for Chinooks, using pen acclimation, trying to tease out whether that has a discernible effect on return rates, both to stocking sites and to their fishery. So their study is that they've instituted with federal funding is essentially to evaluate their steelhead program, evaluate stocking sites and any effect that may come as a result of stocking different sites, the size of an impact on return rates. Does pen acclimation have any effect on return rates as well? And the principal method kind of on the ground to do that is through coat-of-wire tagging. So you folks may not be totally clear on what that means. Coat-of-wire tag is it's not microscopic, but it's about the size of a period on a piece of paper. It's a piece of wire that has a repeating code stamped on it. It's on a spool. Those tags are implanted in the snout of the fish in the hatchery. So one spool has the same code on it that repeats, so all the fish that receive tags from that spool of wire all have the same tag in them. So essentially how that works around hatchery logistics is they use different coated wire tag lots, which may be 2 or 3 spools worth of fish. There's 10,000 tags per spool. You take those fish marked with that tag and treat them differently than another study group. So in their study, what they're doing is testing for, are there effects from pen acclimation versus direct stocking, which is conventional stocking. You put the pipe in the water, you dump the fish in, the fish are left to their own devices afterwards. Versus pens, does size have an impact? Does stocking site have an impact? So all of those different nuances they're testing get different coated wire tags. So why am I telling you guys this? Well, this is where Denny's Dam comes in. We know that fish from their program stray into the Saugeen. We're not at all clear what those stray rates are. There has been fish for a year in the swim that have been coated wire tagged, stocked in the Osable River on their side of the lake, and they've gotten very paltry returns. They've only got about 14 returns in total from 20,000 fish. So a lot of uncertainty around expectations for stray rates on our side of the lake. It appears that hatchery fish survival is a lot lower than it used to be. But I did want to sort of provide some context. The blue bars here are returns from Michigan when they were marking fish on their side of the lake. So the bulk of these returns are from the 2000 to 2003 year classes. When we were studying Chinook natural reproduction, they also had the latitude to mark all their steelhead plants for the same four-year classes, which they did. So this is what we saw proportionally in Saugeen River fish weight data that you guys played a role in collecting. So of course, as they stop marking, returns wane. I really wouldn't say there's any trend in returns there. I think, this is sort of my biological opinion. I think returns on our side of the lake are probably influenced by flow and temperature. That's why the Saugeen gets a lot of returns some years. We have fish weight data from Port Albert, much smaller watershed. We do not see many strays. We're talking 10 to 15% hatchery fish total out of that watershed. The yellow is fish directly as a result of your stocking efforts. So this is just fish pool across the various fin clips that you guys have applied over the years. So, we're over 40% in 2010. We're just over 30% in 2012. How many fish are we going to see from Michigan? I really don't have a good answer for that. I think lots changed in the lake since they last marked. But where you guys fit is, we'd like to actually work cooperatively and help Michigan out and try and collect some fish with coated wire tags. So you have to be aware that to collect coated wire tags is lethal sampling. You got to bonk them on the head. How you do that and how you know that you're collecting their fish rather than fish that you guys stock with an adipose clip is wand them. This is a wand made by the company that produces coated wire tags. It's really just a high-tech metal detector. So it means you wand the fish as you handle them at the fish weigh, because the majority of them are going to be with an adipose clip and no tag. Michigan fish have an adipose clip with a tag. So we'd like to work with you guys and try and get as many as we can to help Michigan out, because they know already that they're probably going to struggle to get enough tags to satisfy the objectives of their study. So the more fish we can collect on our side of the lake, the better. And we're probably going to try and have our derby crews do some of the same work at derbies and where we're running creels. But we just wanted to float this idea in front of you guys because you're presenting some of the person power at the fish weigh every spring while you're collecting eggs and handling a lot of fish. The total number of unique returns in 2012 was just shy of 2,200 fish, so that's a lot of fish. I think it was about 650 fish were adipose clipped. We don't know how many had tags, probably not many, but it means you're going to have to wand all of them or a chunk of them to try and help Michigan out. Like I said, I just wanted to float the idea, see what you guys think about the idea of collecting fish. My sense at this point about logistics, and try and keep it as easy as we can while we're handling fish, is euthanize them, bonk them on the head, throw them in a garbage bag, label that garbage bag date, sample number, which we keep track of all the data we collect by sample number. we'll bring a freezer over and store it in the shed, freeze the fish at the end of the day, and then maybe weekly, depending on how many fish we're talking about, we can come over and collect them, and we'll do the sampling at my office, and we'll collect data off those fish when we sample them after they're thawed, and append all that information to all the other fish collected that particular day at the fishway at the end of the.
What's the purpose of that data?
Pardon?
What's the purpose of the data then? For them?
Yes. Well, we'll get all the biological data off the fish, which will kind of augment all the other fish we handle. We'll send over all the code wire tag data to Michigan DNR. Essentially, this is kind of a goodwill gesture, help them out collect data for their intent to evaluate their stocking program. You know, in the end, that's what we would do to help them out.
At the same time here, we will know,
Yeah.
we'll be able to calculate the percentage of our run, that's Michigan.
Will they
Yes.
check for clipped fish over there? Where
Yeah.
You're at?
Yeah, we have access to their creel data. They know marks, clips, all that kind of thing, and they're going to be doing code wire tag collections on their side of the border as well. In their
Do
creel.
they get very many clipped fish?
Well,